Hello everybody, welcome to another video, this being our first double review of the Marvel Legends Iron Man First Appearance Mark 1 and Mark 2, being the silver and the gold. What made me decide to do a double review is that these figures were more or less the same, besides a few aesthetic differences and accessories. Got both of these as gifts, both for Christmas, and let's get into it. Starting with aesthetics, we'll be looking at the First Appearance silver variant, primarily because I got him first. Pinning and the sculpting on this guy is pretty good. The highest compliment I could give an Iron Man figure is that they actually look like they're made out of some kind of metal. And this is the closest you'll probably get with a retail brand like Marvel Legends and Hasbro. But I think they did a pretty good job. Some key notes, the scratching, that was stock standard. I did not customize this guy, as you can see. It's there, some on the chest, here, the arm, there's the hands, leg. Another thing I like is the blue hue outlining the arc reactor. The arc reactor is also sculpted. I think the sculpting on this figure definitely helps it a lot to stand out. It isn't just a repaint. I wouldn't expect it to be. See, there's some sculpting detail on his knee. There's some on his back right there. Stuff you would normally not see. Little antenna, which I would be very careful with this. This could probably break, but it is soft enough plastic that it is malleable, as you can see. One sculpting detail I like is the rivets, which actually a nice segue into our next segment. I'm going to be going out of order here. Articulation. It is broken by the thigh cut. So starting from the top of the head, has a ball joint at the base of the neck and the base of the head. Without help, you can look up that far, look down that far, nice tilt, can go 360, has a ball joint at the base of the waist, you can hunch that much, arch that much, definitely a better arch than a hunch, does function as a rocker and a swivel. I would be very careful, mine's a bit tight. Shoulder goes up that high, 360, bicep swivel, which goes 360. Double jointed elbow is hindered by the sculpting, has a swivel and a hinge at the wrists. At the legs, kicks up that far, kicks back that far. I know it's a little hard to see. An amazing spread. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knees also hindered by the articulation. There is not a boot cut. The sculpting really allows for it, but they didn't use one. But you do get a hinge at the ankle, which offers for a rocker. So aesthetically, say this guy is a 10 out of 10 for what the armor is. This is what I expect from a first appearance Iron Man, and they delivered perfectly. Next, we have the Mark II or gold variant. This one being released later on in a retro carded line. Aesthetically, I would say it's worse, but pinning and the sculpting on this figure is amazing. It is gold. It's gold. I will not say it has the same metal look that the prior one had, and it is missing some paint detail. It is missing the blue hue around the arc reactor. It does, though, in fact, have a panel lining effect, but sadly it's only on the front. As you can see, they did not carry it all the way around, which some would say was cheap, but I don't mind. You don't see this part of the figure all too much. One thing I will say is that the torso is noticeably different from the rest of the body. You can most see it through the camera. In person, they look similar, but through the camera, you can tell that this and this are two different plastics. One thing I do like the inclusion of is the little skirt piece. I don't know what to call this, but it is cool. It is accurate. It does hinder articulation very slightly. There's his kick in direct comparison to the Prior's kick. It's not a very major difference, but it is different enough to hinder him. I'm not going to go over articulation besides that. Same articulation on this guy. So, it is primarily a painting, sculpting difference. The only different sculpt being this. Another thing is that you can actually see his eyes through the armor. That is cool, and actually plays into the accessories quite nice. Aesthetically, I'd give him a worse score. The prior one would be like a 9. He would be like an 8 or a 7. Voice crack. I do think the worst part is the differing shades of gold on the chest and the arms. It is very noticeable, and it just takes away from the figure for me. I do prefer the silver variant over the gold. Okay, now it's time for the accessories. Now, for a universal accessory, both come with these smoke effects. Full focus. It comes with 2 per. They also both come with blast effect parts. I don't know where mine are for either figure. So let's move on to the gray variant. Comes with a fist. And an open hand, which are opposites to the hands it has on the figure. For the gold variant, comes with an unmasked Tony head. Amazing accessory. I've used this for photo photography. And then 2 open hands, given he has both his closed hands on the figure. Now for size comparisons, here we have the 80th anniversary Iron Man. As you can see, he scales pretty well. These figures are slightly bigger if we put them shoulder to shoulder, which is comic accurate. Next, keeping on the Marvel Legends train, we have Wolverine. Of course, he is smaller than they are. That is the Secret Wars Wolverine. Next, we have a 7-inch figure, being the NECA Real Toys Part 7 Jason. Whether that's an accurate scale, you decide. And for our final size comparison, here we have the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Hulk. So, they scale pretty perfectly with all the Marvel Legends. When you go out of scale and out of line, that's when these two start to get a little different and harder to scale properly, especially with NECA. NECA is known for being pretty big. Overall rating for these two, I'd give them in unison an 8.5, but individually 9.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, share, like, subscribe, do all of that YouTube rigmarole. Comment down below what changes I could do to make these toy reviews better. Remember, your support helps me. Pay with your dollar. Pay with your time. Pay with your views. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you on the next one. Peace.